CIP's Digital Door to Self-Study. This lecture is published by CIP from Donghua University and composed by Mariska Stevens. How to work by yourself without stress. We can imagine that it is difficult for our students to work by themselves as the coronavirus has forced everybody to work digital. Yet, to contain the damage as much as possible, we have created this presentation to help you in your workplace and with your studies. To have continuity in your studies, it is important that you plan your work time and your studies every day on a regular basis. Step 1. Create a clear environment. Begin with your workspace. If your desk looks like this, then you are in trouble. It will be very hard to concentrate on working. My experience is that next to a clean tabletop, you need to keep pens and paper at hand, in case you want to take notes. Not everybody has the luxury of 2 monitors, and if you don't want endless clicking to disturb your concentration, then pen and paper is an outcome. At the same time, make notes on paper because it will help you remember facts more easy. Keep a drink close by so that you do not need to get up to get a drink. But don't put food on your desk. It is important that you separate mealtime from study time. A mental approach is that you make one pile of obligatory books and one pile of books not only with the harder study books, but also with those books inside that you love studying. Put the ones that you love at a distance. They are not part of your task immediately, but they are part of your positive identity. They will give you a positive feeling while working on the hard stuff. Make sure that the light is good. Daylight is good, but at night make sure that the surrounding light is not overbearing. Keep a clock inside, but make sure that you forget time once you are concentrated. Constantly watching a clock is not good for concentration, and it causes anxiety when you feel you do not have enough time. What is also a small trick is the following. Look at the items around you, and this might sound a little silly, but take them in your hands one by one, well, of course not your laptop, but books, pens, notebooks, data material, and smile at it, giving it some positive energy. Step 2. Make a work plan. The next step is making a work plan. If you make a work plan, first prioritize what you need to do. What are your deadlines? Then work your way through that list, putting symbols behind each item. Also list which books or sources you will need for one specific item. On your computer, keep separate maps and separate files for separate works. Then make a time schedule. Cut the time periods up in pieces. If you do typing, ensure finger and pulse exercises every half hour. Also, stretch your back and neck every hour. Work at one item at a time. Give each item approximately 2 hours. If you need to memorize a lot, try to close your eyes after 2 hours for 10 minutes only, to let your brain process the information. Between work and work. Very important is it to keep your study time separated from mealtime, but also from work time and leisure. Many of you also work while studying at CIP. This, of course, is not an easy task, For work and study, you also need to make a work plan. Be careful not to postpone all your studies to the weekend. You will be very quickly exhausted if you do so, and you will find that it doesn't work. You will not feel like studying and even feel more pressed of doing it. Choose one day, Saturday or Sunday, if you work on one of those days. Choose one of 2 days if you are free. Preferably after you had a working day. That way you can keep a working rhythm. In the evening you need to permit yourself to work at least 1 hour after work. After your meal, for instance. Make sure you have some quiet time before you go to sleep. So in a week, keep 1 weekday free, 1 weekday for study. But also change your clothes after studying. Keep your meals separate from work and study time. Have meals preferably after work. If you are tired, take a small power nap. Never more than 30 minutes. Otherwise you will be more tired and it doesn't work. If you are a morning person, study in the morning, before work. If you are an evening person, study in the evening, after work. Work plan 2. Methods of working. Actually, the first thing might be important, and that is to make flashcards. If you notice that you are postponing a certain task, it is wise to break it up in several small and simple tasks. Make sure that you make the steps that you have to take concrete, simple and tangible for yourself. You'll immediately notice that it's nice when you can finally cross something off your list. Turning your notes into flashcards is very useful when you are studying for an assignment or an exam. For instance, if you are studying Chinese. This is already obvious, if you're studying Chinese, of course. But flashcards are useful for all kinds of memorizing. Index cards are very good for organizing a paper when you need to write. You can use the cards and create a sequence of items on them to see if your argumentation on paper would be logical. You can change the cards, put the arguments up front or after something else, so you can see what the logic is in your line of thinking. You can organize the necessary quotes in cards and see where they fit in with your work. And for this reason, it's also good to keep a reference list at hand. This way, you do not lose time in having to look up various items. Also, understand what type of learner you are. Step 3. Thoughts that hinder and reasons which support. From comfort zone to self-confidence. Next to understanding what type of learner you are, also understand that everybody many times have the same problems. A problem that everybody has is the difficulty of leaving your comfort zone to gain self-confidence. The thoughts you see here, you can sum up as your comfort zone. It shows a situation in which you can easily be in control and at the same time have regular schedules which are determined from the outside. The class hours, seeing your teachers, seeing your fellow students, corrections when you receive them on the spot. It is a homey, comfortable spot which does not challenge your fears and hopes, because most of them are actually defined from the outside in. The hours are also defined from the outside in. You do not have to make a choice. The choices are being made for you. But of course, when you are studying digital, this is different. The next zone is your fear zone. Everybody has it, but it can become a feeling of being paralyzed, and it is called a fear zone, not for nothing. The fear zone. If you tell yourself, this is how I am, there's nothing I can do about it. Like for instance, such as I am weak, lazy, weak, not disciplined, then you can create a situation for yourself as if there is nothing you can do about it. It is called self-fulfilling prophecy. You create a prophecy and then you stick to it. It is like putting yourself in prison. Whenever you have a problem, you feel paralyzed and helpless. You will try to postpone your work and you feel terrible even more because of this. On top of that, you will miss deadlines. You will try to get out of deadlines. You will become ashamed because you cannot keep up with the work. It is a vicious circle. Understand that, as all individuals, you are a complicated person, not an imprisoned personality. Look at the circumstances under which you study. Study by yourself forces you to get to know yourself. Make a study plan that is suitable to your capacity. Look at your workspace again. Is it really organized? Look at distractions. Are you really focused on your studies or are you doing 10 things at the same time? Sometimes it's not useful to focus on one part of your study, the hardest part alone. Your working relationship with your teacher is also important. Make sure that you have clear targets in the contact with your teachers. And also write down upfront the points of your problems. Remember, you work together online. You do not want to forget the questions that you want to ask the teacher. The learning zone. Clean your workspace again and make a new work plan. Now do this to the following questions. Which is my strongest course as well as the one that I like doing most? Is it Chinese? Is it supply chain management? Marketing, business planning, mathematics, statistics? Begin to create an hour of the course which is your strongest and most favorite. And then tackle your hardest coursework. And then end the day again with your strongest course. You will find that your self-confidence increases. Also make a list of those items you find difficult. You could contemplate with a study friend if she or he too has the same problem with these items, and ask how they tackle the problems. Understand that every person has different capacities. Some people are auditive, some people are visual. Try to find out what yours are. And correct these patterns of thought. Examples are: what am I supposed to? How could I tackle these problems? I found it difficult, but does it mean that I cannot do it? I'm going to try to find out what I understand and what I don't, because then I can give extra attention to the difficult parts of the exam. Even if I'm not clear, I can study a bit. By studying, the attention for the study material usually increases. I can say to myself every day, let me start now and not tomorrow. If you look upon yourself as someone who can accomplish the task, it will be much easier. First, work with the goals you know and you can achieve. Try to see the positive sides of feeling and studying alone. Feel good inside your own home. You are fully in charge here.